If you haven't owned a Corolla yourself, chances are you probably know someone that has. And that's because in the last 50 years, more than 1.37 million of these little babies have gone on sale down under. So the first Corolla had a 1.1 litre 4-cylinder engine at a time when most of its rivals had a 1 litre motor, and that gave it a little bit of an advantage, especially in its home market. And what is kind of surprising for such a small motor by today's standards, I mean, think about it, it's about the same size as a litre motorbike. It is quite a torquey little engine, and it's quite happy down in the lower parts of the rev range. Come out of a corner here, third gear, a little bit of fuel splutter, but it just pulls away so effortlessly. It's also a really easy car to drive, and that was one of the big selling points of the time. A lot of cars of the day had a column shift manual, this had a floor shift. A lot of cars also didn't have synchro mesh, at least not on all of the gears. Now this had synchro all the way through, even back to first, which made it a little bit of a hit, especially with lady drivers. Now the steering too was nice and light, and being a light car with little skinny tyres, the overall experience is a car that's an absolute joy to drive. All the controls are really light and really communicative, and the gear shift, like this car has not been touched in 50 years and the gear shift is still absolutely spot on. Now the Corolla also introduced a lot of firsts, and for a car of its price that was a bit of a big thing. So standard equipment included things like an AM radio, a heater, a floor shift manual, and even seat belts and backup lights. And these were things that just weren't heard of in our domestic cars of the time, or if they were expensive options. Ooh, it's getting hot in here. That's the air conditioning. Well, honestly, where do you start with the new Corolla Hybrid? I mean, firstly, hybrid engine technology. It wasn't something they would have even thought would exist back when the first Corolla was created. Electric power steering, climate control, sat-nav. Like, imagine telling someone back in 1967 that something floating up in space would soon be able to tell you how to get to your destination. It's pretty out there stuff. Now, surprisingly enough, one of the things that has carried over 50 years on, which sounds really strange to say, is just the ease of use of driving the Corolla. I mean, it's still an easy car to steer, it still communicates quite well, and it's just light and easy, and anyone can jump in and drive this thing. As well as all the technology items, the comfort items are what really grabs you when you jump into this new car. I mean, for a start, cloth seats. On a day like today, I was getting stuck to the old vinyl back there, and it's one of those things that you kind of forget about with old cars. I mean, sure, they've got a lot of charm, but a few hours on the road on a hot day and you're wishing for cloth seats. Climate control, isn't it just fantastic having cool air instead of having to wind down the old window? And like that in itself, winding down the window. Can you remember the last time you had to wind down a window in a car? Now I guess if there's any downsides to the new Corolla, the only one I can really think of is visibility. Given the complete lack of rollover protection and airbags and those kind of things in the old car, it was a very open glass house. Lots of thin pillars, big areas of glass, and no head restraints to look past in your rearview mirror. Now Toyota of course did offer an automatic back with the very first Corolla, a little 2-speed unit which was followed by a 3-speed unit later on, but I'm sure they would never have thought of a planetary gear set like there is in this car, or even the CVT transmissions that are offered now. This really is set and forget motoring. I mean, there's just this little electric lever down here to pop it into drive or to pop it in reverse. You don't really have to think about or time your gears, and you certainly don't have to shift down to go up hills. The advances shown in the 50 years of Corolla's development are impressive to say the least, and we look forward to seeing what the next 50 years will bring. Happy birthday, Corolla.